Today, I'm going to be your nice guy medium, and I'm going to lay out the three possible futures you have as being a nice guy and what they look like, the cost and pleasure of each single one. So choose your path wisely. Welcome back to another episode of the Be Better podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Orr, and I've coached almost 500 guys to have more intimacy, more energy, more presence, and lead themselves better so that they can become better husbands, better fathers, and ultimately just better men in general. Today, I'm going to predict your future. If you're a nice guy, you've resonated with all the content that I've spoken about, that you've seen, that you've heard, that you've read. Maybe you've even read No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, then you're at this time in life, this pivotal moment, and you have three potential paths ahead of you. But before we get into each of those paths and what they look like, I want to speak into one of the traits of a nice guy that unfortunately keep most nice guys stuck and in that space. Because inherently, as nice guys, we externalize our confidence. We seek external validation, external love, external approval for people to tell us we're doing a good job, that we are worthy, that we deserve to be confident, that we deserve to be loved, we deserve to feel all these things. The problem with operating from that space is whenever there is an opportunity for us to improve our situation. Like, we've recognized what I'm doing is not getting the result that I want to be better, I want to be all these things. Unless we address the identity of being a nice guy, the decision that we make is still filtered through the lens of, will this get me that external approval? Will my wife love me or even maybe stay with me if I make this change? Will my business grow and my clients make more money if I make this personal change? Will my kids stop being so bratty and having all the tantrums? Will it make me a better father? We're looking for this level of certainty from somebody else. If you haven't heard me say it already, certainty is an inside job, right? I heard Sharan, I can't remember his last name, but the guy that just went into business with Alex and Layla Hormozi. So big fan of their work and everything that they do. And this guy's grown 3 companies to over $1 billion. So dude knows what he's talking about, right? And he was speaking into decision making. And he said, most people will wait until that they have 100% of the information before they make a decision. But by the time you have 100% of the information, it's too late. The opportunity is gone, the deal is missed, the change that you wanted to make is now no longer relevant. And in reality, the only way that we get 100% of the information of any decision is after we've made a decision for or against. We'll only ever have really 50 to 70% of the information required to make a decision. And at that point is when we decide yes or no. And after that decision is when we get to the rest of the information to be able to decide if that was a good decision or a bad decision. So it's only in hindsight that we can never really discern between the two. And so another way of thinking about that might also be of, what you deem as being a good or a bad decision. It's like, well, what's the outcome? If the outcome is, well, I've got more data to make a more informed decision, it got me at least somewhat closer to the goal that I want, it was at least in alignment with my values, the man that I want to be in the direction when I go in life, then we can make more decisions with and win those decisions rather than feeling like this one decision has to change everything, right? This one change needs to transform my entire identity from being a nice guy into a confident, sovereign, masculine man. This one change in my marriage needs to completely overhaul it from stale and roommate status into deep, electric, sacred lover status, right? Does it get me closer? And so I hope You found ways to find that confidence in yourself to make more decisions and do it for you. I made a previous podcast about, if you're making these changes with the frame of I'm doing this to save my marriage, you've already lost, right? We do it for ourselves because we can't control the other people. We can't control if our wife stays or leaves. We can't decide, how often she wants to sleep with us, how attracted she is to us, all these things. We can do the best that we can possibly do. We can change our state. We can address our flaws, change our limiting beliefs, do all this personal work. And it's my belief that when we do all that work, what is meant for us in this life, in this universe, will stay, will be attracted to us. And what's not meant for us will find its way out. Whether that's a partner, friends, business. And know those things won't be comfortable. But if you're doing the work for yourself, know that you have to sleep with the decisions you make at night. And so if at the very least you make the decisions that you can sleep with, that you're aligned with, you can say, I fucking did everything that was within my power. I did my best. And so I hope that decision-making framework helps. So that's the pretext to this, because a lot of nice guys will not be able to overcome that, and that's why they pick path one. Path one of the path one for the future of a nice guy is he stays a nice guy, right? He stays a self-aware at best. Sorry, I'll pre-frame this. This is assuming that you are now aware of your nice guy traits. Many, 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 many men will never be aware of their nice guy traits until they die, right? Ever at all. So we're assuming that you are now self-aware enough because you're listening to this podcast, you've heard me talk about this, you've seen the content and all the things. So you are now self-aware of the nice guy traits. Path one will do nothing. You will do nothing and make no changes because you're waiting for certainty, you're waiting for that external approval, or it's not that bad, right? And how that then plays out is one of two options, right? Option one is you stay with your partner. Everything in your life is pretty much the same. Groundhog Day. It's very repetitive, monotonous. You're not fighting with your partner, but it's not fun, exciting, flirty either. You maybe have sex on special occasions, maybe for Father's Day or Christmas or your birthday, but that's about it. And again, it still feels stale and robotic and just repetitive and just a couple of pumps. Cool. Okay, did you come? Sweet. And off to bed. And that's the extent of it. And because there's no rock bottom, there's no fighting, there's no cheating, there's no hard reason to leave, you just put it in the basket. Oh, well, it's not that bad. This is how a long-term relationship is supposed to feel. This is how marriage is supposed to feel, how life with kids is supposed to feel. And just label it as that, give yourself that justification and leave it. And then kid yourself that you're happy with life and that you're okay with marriage the way that it is. But there's this part of you that knows that you're not okay with that. I can never remember the name of this, but there's a phrasing around this which I think would be helpful for some people, because that rock bottom in which most people need to change is different for everybody, right? And in situations like this, I dare say for most people, it would actually be better off to hit rock bottom. You would actually be better off for your wife to go and cheat on you. You would be better off to go bankrupt. You would be better off to have these screaming arguments with your kids, with your wife, and to have this deep level of dissatisfaction and unhappiness and unfulfillment with your life, because it would force change. Because in those moments of that deep pain is when humans actually change, if they're going to change at all. There are plenty of people that will see this to the grave, and no rock bottom is ever enough. They'll take that till they die. But for a lot of other people, they hit a rock bottom, right? In marriage, maybe it's cheating. In their health, maybe it's their 50, 100 kilos overweight in their business. Maybe they're having to file for bankruptcy, or they get done for fraud, with one of their business partners, whatever it is. There's like this huge pivotal moment of, fuck, this feels like the end. And it forces change. And so if you're hovering in that point where it's just above rock bottom, right? It's not that bad. There's no screaming arguments. There's no cheating. There's no, massive reason for you to be unhappy. And maybe even you tell yourself, like, you get down on yourself. Well, like, I've got the wife, I've got the kids, I've got, all these things. Like, why do I not feel fulfilled? Why, why am I not grateful for this? Like, it just doesn't feel enough. I don't feel satisfied. And then maybe you feel shit about yourself because you don't really appreciate those things. It's because it's not the things. It's the identity. It's you. And so that person, that nice guy that never changes, will see this through to the grave. Will have that mediocre, like, just stagnant, stale life. Relationship is nothing special. Business is nothing special. Will amount to nothing special. And, people will not feel like they really know you because you're a yes man, never a moment's bother, and just like nothing. Option 2 of the nice guy, the future of the nice guy, is your wife is not happy with that future. So she leaves. She has voiced to you the changes that she wants to make. She's voiced to you that she's not happy with things in various ways, but maybe you don't believe that she's actually going to leave. She spoke to a guy a few weeks ago, and his wife would actually bring up in fights, like, I want a divorce. There's times like this, I wish I married another man. Like, all these things. She's saying this to him. And then in the conversation to me, she's like, I think it's just a threat. Like, I think it's just an empty threat. I don't think she would actually leave. Like, my man, how long are you going to allow that conversation to go on? And then don't be surprised if you one day you wake up and there's divorce papers on your bedside table. Just a quick announcement, guys. If you are a high-performing father or a successful business owner who's built the life you said you always wanted, and even a life most men would envy, but deep down you feel like something's off. Your drive and fire is just Your marriage just feels stale. Your energy is just not what it used to be. Or maybe you're still stuck in the nice guy syndrome, but you're ready to lead with real presence and confidence again. Well, that's exactly what I help men like you to do. So if you're ready to take action and want to know if my coaching is right for you, either scroll down to the show notes or go to my Instagram page, The Elite Father, and click on the link tree to apply. You've built a business success. Now let's build success where it really matters. Now, back to the show. Like, you either address that stuff so that never gets said, that's never even a potential threat, real or not, and then put a boundary in place of, like, I'm not standing for that. Like, we do not talk about that in this household unless you are deadly serious, because I'm not here for being gaslit and empty threats. That's a conversation for another podcast. And so this version of the nice guy, again, doesn't change, doesn't think his wife is really going to leave, doesn't think she's really going to cheat on him because he doesn't make any changes. And then so she leaves, or she cheats and finds her way out of the relationship because she's tried to voice, hey, I need you to do this. I want to make these changes. I'm not happy with the way things are. And there's actually a scary stat around this. I presented this in the masterclass I ran for over a month ago now, which if you haven't checked that out, go to my Instagram page, and then in the link tree, there's the Masculine Reset Masterclass. You can go check it out for free. And this stat on divorced women, it was 72% of divorced women attributed their divorce to a lack of emotional leadership and assertiveness. Two of the most common traits of a nice guy, because he lacked emotional leadership and assertiveness. Right? And I know a previous version of me, when I was deep in nice guy syndrome, would have thought, well, I don't want to be assertive. Like, that sounds domineering. That sounds controlling. That sounds, Andrew Tate. That sounds all the things that I was told that are bad, that I don't want to be. No. This means that you fucking stand for something. It means that you have boundaries. Like, think about it this way. as a parent, when you see childhood behavior, right? You see kids or parents in the playground and things like that, and there's things that you don't agree with. At what point do you stand up? At what point do you say something? Do you say something at all, or just let it play out? If someone cuts in line, do you say something, or do you just allow it to happen? Because from a safety standpoint, if your wife knows that you won't stand up to protect your child, if she knows that you won't say something when something goes against your values or encroaches on the safety, the happiness, or just the well-being of your family, how can she possibly feel safe? Because you're the masculine, you're there supposed to be the protector, the safety, the one that looks after them. And if you won't stand up for it, then she's got to. Or there's a threat against your family. And again, that keeps her in that masculine, keeps her not able to relax and feel safe, because that's a responsibility that you've negated and given back to her. And so when it comes to that assertiveness and that emotional leadership, that's a safety piece, right? It's not forcing yourself onto your partner or onto other people. It's having those healthy boundaries. And having those is what enables that safe space, that play, and then consequence if you go without that. Right? I saw a perfect example of this a few weeks ago in my son's swimming lesson. So there's 4 kids in the swimming lesson that he's at, and they're learning to swim without their, they're in there on their own. So, and they don't have floaties or anything like that. So because they're just learning to swim, it's quite important that they follow the rule that unless you're with the teacher, you sit on the step and you wait. So she was with one child, and 2 of the other kids decided to jump in and swim off. And this is an older lady who's very kind, sweet, nurturing, very feminine in that essence. And I watched how she addressed these 2 kids that broke that boundary. As soon as she came back with the one that she was swimming with, she took the 2 kids, sat them on this edge of the pool, and her tone and energy fucking changed like that. And it went straight from caring, nurturing, guiding to, you do not do that. You know the rules. You do not swim off without me present when I'm not looking, because this is a safety thing for you. You understand those rules, don't you? Yes. Okay. Next time you break those rules, you'll be out of the pool. That lesson will be done for you for today. Do you understand? Yes. Super direct, super clear, not fucking around. Did she swear? No. Was she rude or aggressive? No. But she was direct, she was clear for the safety of everyone involved. And especially as a parent, it's refreshing to see that. It's like, that's how you would want it to see, because I'm like, if she allows that to happen, like, she doesn't take their safety seriously. She's not a great coach or a great leader in that space. And that's the way that our feminine partner looks to us, because it provides that safety and that security. And so path 2 of the nice guy ends up in divorce. And then again, from there, one of 2 things will happen. Either he'll stay the nice guy, keep playing that out. Oh, she was just a bitch. She was unfaithful, and refusing to look at the mirror. Other option is he finally takes a look at himself in the mirror and looks at, where did I go wrong? What was, my part in this happening? And hopefully in that space is able to then change, like we said before, for himself, regardless of whether she comes back or not, or again, will stay as the nice guy and still trying to manipulate essentially her to make the changes so that she comes back. Most of the time, that self-reflection will only happen with an external source. Will happen through a chat with a grounded masculine friend, a mentor, a coach, a father-esque figure, or another source of information to change that way of thinking. Because we've all heard the quote, the same level of thinking that created the problem won't be the one to solve it. So that pivotal moment is when, is there a source, or is there something to break that way of thinking? Or is he going to use that same way of thinking to try and solve the problem? Same way of thinking is, well, what do I need to do to save the marriage? Oh, well, I need to be good. I need to do more for the kids. I need to provide more. I need to do all these kind of things. Be the nice guy even harder. Which again is one of the most common traits of the nice guy is recognizing that it's not working, so they double down on the things that are not working. Horrible trait, horrible trait. But if you are listening to this, I hope you have resonated with at least some of that, but then also heavily pushed that future away with both fucking arms and said, I'm not allowing that to happen because I'm going to change. Because I hope in listening to these podcasts, in consuming not just my content, but all the content, the books, the courses, and the things that you're consuming at the moment, you're not just consuming, that you're actually taking action on. You're actually making these changes and putting them into play in your real life. Because the third path, and my personal preferred path, and the path that I'm on, is elevating, evolving from the self-aware nice guy into the grounded, calm, present, confident, masculine man, which only comes from addressing the self-beliefs of the nice guy, addressing all those childhood wounds, mother, father wounds of I'm not good enough, I need external validation, I'm doing this for everybody else and not me. All those things, and is able to make the changes for himself, to be himself, to be his best self, his highest potential for his own gain. Recognizing that anyone in my life, be it my kids, my wife, my business partners, my clients, will benefit from that if they are truly aligned with me in the direction I'm going, or they will find their way out of life, out of my life. And that is a scary concept to grasp. Like, I had my first taste of letting this go back when I was still heavily a nice guy. One of the most pivotal moments where I was in a relationship. I was very anxious. I was stressed. I was jealous. I was envious. I was trying to manipulate and control my partner so that she would never get attention from other guys, so she wouldn't go out drinking and partying, so she wouldn't do all these things that made me feel insecure because I thought she would leave me, she would cheat on me, she would find someone else that was better than me. And so I remember this moment of she was out with her friends. I was waiting for that text message. I was staring at my phone. I was going from story to story to see, if her story checked out, of if she told me who she was with, if she was lying or if she was right, where she was, all the things. And I was just in this emotional mess. And I realized that me acting this way is only going to bring in the reality that I'm trying to avoid, that I say that I don't want, of, her cheating and leaving me, into reality. It's only going to bring that to fruition. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen whether I like it or not. If I truly want to actually be in alignment with the version that I want to be and live life for myself rather than for other people's approval, I need to do what I want to do and take back that control. Because essentially that's what we're doing there. We're giving our control and our power of our emotions, of our future, of our actions, our behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings to that person. So I took those back, recognizing that if she's going to leave, she's going to leave. And that started to birth the mindset that I want people in my life because they want to be here, not because they need to be. Not because I've provided this situation where they feel they need to be here, but they want to be. That energy is massively different. And I started to become okay with her leaving. And the level of peace that brought me, the level of confidence that brought me, the level of freedom that brought me was massive. And now I acknowledge it's very different doing that with a girlfriend to doing that with a wife, to doing that with other, key people in your life. But being okay with that outcome is when we can really take back that control, when we can really take back the ownership of our emotions, our behaviors, our direction in life. And then how that plays out is, like I said, the people that are not meant for your life will find their way out. But what that makes space for is the things and the people that are meant for your life. So you then create a relationship, a marriage of deep polarity, where you can step into your deep masculine, allowing her to step into her deep feminine, where you have that confidence, that leadership, that emotional certainty and decisiveness, which allows her to be her beautiful, chaotic mess, which allows her to be that relaxed, beautiful feminine that most guys say that they want, that they're not ready to handle. They don't have the masculinity, the nervous system to be able to stay grounded in those times of chaos, so that when it comes time to the pleasure and the play, they will only give us as deep and as much as we've shown that we can handle. If you can handle the depth of her chaos, you'll be able to get the depth of her sluttiness, her inner porn star, as many guys say that they want, like in the bedroom. But we need to prove that we can handle that. And so when you then step into that space, like that's the area how it plays out in your marriage. But how that plays out as a father, we now get to be grounded present when our kids bring that chaos to us. When they've done something that they're not proud of, that they don't really want to be honest about. But if we are stoic and grounded in those moments, it proves that they can tell us anything and we'll still be here. The flip side of that is when they tell us things that we don't want to hear, we're not happy or proud about, and we lose our shit. It reinforces to them, oh, don't be that honest with dad. Don't share that much, because he'll lose his shit. He'll get angry. I'll get in trouble. And I don't want that to happen. So we won't share that much. And again, now you've built a relationship in a space where they don't feel safe, to be honest, where they don't want to share that level of truth. And so that plays out into adulthood. You then, again, still have this surface level relationship because of how you've responded to things in the past. Then in your business, you create an environment where you lead because of who you are, because of the man that you've embodied, not because you're just the guy that pays the checks, right? Sure, people at work will follow you because of that status, but when they follow you because you are actually a leader, because you live by the example that you set, it's not do what I say, not as I do type approach, then that creates a completely different culture. That's when you get people that will go above and beyond, outside of their job description, outside of their pay grade, because they want to follow you, because they believe in you, they believe in the company, they believe in the mission, they believe in all these things, and they do it for their intrinsic part of this mission and their own fulfillment, not just because like, oh, he pays the bills, so I'll do the bare minimum to just not get fired, right? So every time your employee is exhibiting those standards, look at where you are exhibiting those standards. And now in that third and final future, that's where the embodiment, the fulfillment, the deep sense of knowing that you're living at your potential and you're aligned with the best version of you truly comes from. Because in the others, maybe you ignore it, maybe you know that it's there, but you push it aside because you don't want to take action on it because it's fucking scary because of the uncertainty. So it depends on how you want to live life. But I'm going to bring back to the decision maker, the pivotal point now. If you've been sitting with this, if you've been consuming more information, it's time to take action. It's time to go and do something. I shared this with a mentor, my lesson that I got from a mentor the other week. This was in regards to business, and I was stuck at this certain milestone, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, cool, what have you done? I listed off a bunch of things, and he's like, cool, is that different to what you've been doing? I'm like, oh no, it's just more of the same, just more volume. He's like, cool, well, your level of thinking got you here, and that's clearly now your ceiling because you haven't broken it for 3 months. What are you doing to change your level of thinking to get to that next level? And I had nothing, right? I had nothing to change that. And that's that moment might be where you're at right now. So what actions are you taking? What are you doing to change that level of thinking so that you can take action on different things, change the behaviors, but most importantly, change your identity out of being an approval-seeking nice guy and into a mature, self-approved, self-worthy masculine man. And now this doesn't come from just consuming more information. It comes from taking action. So whether you read No More Mr. Nice Guy and start to action some of the stuff in his books, whether you listen to all my podcasts, I make sure that there's at least one action item in all of them so that you can actually go and implement those and go and make change in your real life. A lot of the guys that I've worked with have actually started by taking action from the podcast and thought, holy shit, this stuff is legit, and then come on and started working with me because they've taken those initial actions, got some positive feedback and some results, and then wanted to 10x that. And so you can most definitely do this by yourself. It just depends on how you want to play that out. How long do you want this to take you? And how much time do you want that to waste before you get to that version of you? Can your marriage handle it? Can your relationship with your kids handle it? Can your business handle it? Can you handle taking that amount of time? And so go and take action on something. If you are completely lost and do not know where to start, depending on where you're at, either go check out the Masculine Reset Masterclass or scroll down here and book a coaching call to see if I can help you. But that's if you're ready for that. Again, not a lot of people are. Start with the Masculine Reset. It's absolutely free. And let me know your thoughts on that. That'll give you a few action items to go and implement now so you can start seeing results and get yourself out of the nice guy syndrome. So pick which future you want to play out. Make your actions and behaviors align with that future. So with that said, you've got plenty of action items to go and implement now. Make a decision, take action. Don't be sorry, be better, and I'll see you guys next time.